Good morning, Isabella.
Good morning.
Welcome. It's good to see you. Do you know what we're going to do today?
I'm going to have an interview and answer some questions.
Excellent. That is absolutely part of what we're going to do. We're going to have some fun too. Okay. But the first part we will do is we're going to give you a set of questions that you can answer. The fun part about the questions is there's no wrong answer. Anything you choose will be okay, because all we're going to do is ask you questions about things you like best or choices you would make that'll help us know you better, about how you like to work in the world and play with friends and get along with people and get your energy back, and all those kinds of pieces that make you a normal, wonderfully cool girl to be. The questions are not going to tell me how smart you are. Okay, they're not going to tell me all those good things you are gifted at, like your music and your swimming and your acting. But they will tell us about your personality preferences. And that'll help us understand how you learn best and how you make choices best, okay? You can't get anything wrong. But you know, when you have your grades at school, they're your grades, aren't they? And just for you, that you worked on them, you earned them. And if you want to tell your friends, you can, but you don't have to. But if your parents want to see your grades, they get to see them, right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, it's the same kind of idea here, that when you're answering the questions, it's going to help us understand your personality best. But if your parents want to know about it, they can see it too, because you're still 8 years old. And parents can get to see things that are still for 8 years old, okay? Now, sometimes when you're answering the questions, you might come across a question that you go, oh, I like choice A and I like choice B, and I'm having a hard time deciding. So then what you can say to yourself is, if I would do both A and B, which one would I do first? Okay? And that way you can make a choice, because they're going to ask you to make a choice for each one of the questions. All right? Anything you want to know about other than that? Okay. After we answer the questions, then we'll print out your results and we'll come on back down here, and you and I will talk about them and see what they say, and you can decide if what they say matches what you think is true for you. Welcome back, Isabella. Glad to see you again. You just answered all of the questions, and we have your results here. But before I give you the results from that, we're going to do a little bit of work in our workbook. And this will be yours to keep when we're all done, okay? But answering the questions, was that okay for you, or were any of them tricky for you? Or?
They were pretty easy.
They were pretty easy for you? Yeah. So when you had to make a choice, it wasn't a problem?
No.
Okay, great. Well, let's go ahead then, and we'll start in our workbook. And let's start at page 2, please. Okay. So page 2 tells us that we're going to be talking about type. It's going to be called your personality type. And that once we know that, it helps us understand who we are. It helps us take care of ourselves so that we can do what we have to do whatever the job is. And it's going to help us appreciate people who may not be exactly like us. So now we're going to say that this is going to help us understand our best way for learning, for making friends, and for getting our work and our play all organized. It's only going to tell what is wonderful and good about you, but it is going to help you understand what is your best way for working and living with other people. When you use your 2 hands, like you picked up your pen and you put it in that hand, because that's your preferred hand, isn't it?
Yes.
That's the one you like to use the most?
Yes.
Why do you like to use that hand the most?
Because I'm left-handed.
Oh, and when it's being left-handed and you put the pen in that hand, does it feel more comfortable or less comfortable? Or
it feels more comfortable.
It's more comfortable for you there? And yet, for me, I'm more comfortable with this hand. Okay, so we each have our own preferred way. But if I broke this hand and I had to use my other hand, I could. How about you? Could you use that other hand if you had to?
Yes, but I wouldn't be able to do it as good as with my left hand.
That's exactly it. You'd have to work a little bit harder, wouldn't you? Guess what? Your personality is exactly the same. One part of you is going to be your strong side, your strength, and you can just use it. And the other side is called your stretch side, which means I might have to stretch, or I might have to work harder, or I might have to concentrate to use that side. I can, but it's not going to be as easy or as comfortable as when I get to use my way. Okay? So when it talks about your strengths and your stretches and your personality, just think of it as like, oh, my strength is my way I can do best for me. And my stretch is that part that I just might have to work harder and practice to make it work well. Okay? All right. It's important for us to remember all types are smart. So one type is not smarter than another type. All types can make mistakes. So everybody can goof up sometime. And all types can do a good job. So as long as we all do our work, we're all going to be able to do a good job. But what's really important for us to know is that your personality isn't going to tell anybody what you will think, do, or say. That's your choice. You choose what you want to do or say. But it will be about your energy, your natural energy, your strength energy. Just like it was natural for you to pick up your pencil in your left hand, your personality has a natural side for you. Okay? What we're going to do is figure out what those sides are that work best for you. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to do a thing called I am a good student. And there are many ways to be a good student. We're going to look at some descriptions of I could be a good student in the first box way, or I could be a good student in the second box way. And you get to decide which one do you think sounds more like you. Okay? May not be exactly like you, but which one is more like you. Okay? So in the first box, it says I'm a good student because I raise my hand a lot to talk. I like hearing what I say. I would like to study with friends so we can tell each other what we know. I like some noise while I'm working because too quiet is boring. I like it when people let me keep talking until my idea makes sense. Or I'm a good student because I raise my hand when I have a good idea or when I know the answer. I don't like it when two people talk at the same time. I like to study on my own because too much noise distracts me. I like to know what I want to say before I raise my hand. And in a new class, I'm usually quiet until I get to know the teacher and some of the other students. So which of those good students do you think is more like you?
The second box.
The second box? Okay. So take your pen and just trace around that circle for that second box because that's the one that you think sounds more like you. Was there a part there that was just exactly right for you?
The last one.
About in a new class?
Yes.
You're usually? Okay. All right, let's go to the next one. This time we're going to be looking at a new set of how to be a good student. And both are great. It's whichever one you like best or think looks like you the most, okay?
Okay.
So this first one, you see what they've got in that picture? It's kind of like a magnifying glass looking at that little bug. It's because the person there says, oh, I love information. And I want to learn all the information I can because lots of information helps me understand ideas better. And I like good, clear directions because I want the teacher to tell me what they want me to do and how to do it so I know how to do things the right way. And I like it best when we study a little bit and then get to try out what we use, try to use what we've learned. And I like to go over things again that we already know so I can prove I still know it well. Or I like making the project more than coming up with the idea for the project. Doing the project is the fun part rather than the idea part. Okay? Or you might be a good student because I have to work hard to remember facts. I know what I mean, but sometimes I forget the details because I get so excited about the idea. That the idea is just fun. And I like my ideas to be a little bit different. I like them to be kind of unique and special. So I might not see things exactly like others see them because I look for special ways of putting the information together. And I want my projects to be special, and I want them to be a little bit different. And I like doing things in a different way than others in the class. So doing the design of the idea is far more fun than doing the project of the idea. So are you a good student who looks for all that information and likes doing the work and the project after the idea? Or are you a good student who likes coming up with the idea and doing things in a way that's kind of unique and different?
I like doing it when it's unique and different.
Do you like that? Okay. So then you would circle the second one. Don't you just love those trees?
Yeah.
They're kind of unique and different, aren't they?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, we've got another set of how you can be a good student. In this third set of how you can be a good student, either one again could be wonderful. Did you see how that first picture is like a puzzle?
Yes.
And all those pieces fit together? Well, in the first set, this person is a good student because they like to solve the problem. And they like to figure out how all of those pieces fit together to come up with the best answer. And so they put information into groups and figure things out. Since I know what I do well, and I don't want to have to worry about a teammate who can't do the work as well. So they like to know what they're good, that they do well, and then they can be very aware of what they have to work hard to do well. Love to ask why, want to understand why, tell people what they think so that people can understand exactly what they see as true and right. And they'd like to make choices that are logical and make a lot of sense. Okay? So this person solves the problem and puts all the pieces together in a way that makes the most sense. The other person is a good student because look at their picture. They like to work with people and make things work out for people. So they like working with their friends on teams, and they like cooperating with others because that makes that team work together just a little bit better. They want to help everybody on the team do a really good job. And they like when people give compliments or are friendly, and they think it's important to tell people when they're doing well. They make choices based on what they think is important, and sometimes it may not always be logical, but it's important and they think it's right. So they get focused on how to help people to get the job done well. And the top student says, I'm a good student because I help solve the problem so people can do their work. So you're more like the person who solves the problem to help people, or do you help people so they can kind of figure out what's the best thing to do?
I think the first one.
The first one sounds good to you? Okay. So then you would circle that one. And what do you like about that description that seems right for you?
Because I like to figure things out.
Do you? Do you do a lot of puzzle solving and brain teasers, that kind of thing? Are you good at it?
Yeah.
Are you? Okay. So we have one last one to look at. And in this last section of I Am a Good Student, there are again two different ways. So if we look at our first picture here, this person is looking at things that make a direction, a plan. It's like, okay, I want to know what I'm going to do today, and I make a plan and figure out I can get this done, and this done, and then I want to do that. I don't like it when people come and mess up my good plan. So I also like to know what's going to happen. Surprises aren't as much fun if they happen all the time. I'd rather have an idea. I know what's going to happen. And even if it's going to be a surprise, I'd rather you say, so Saturday you'll get a surprise, so I can plan ahead to be ready for that surprise. And when a teacher gives an assignment, I like to get started right away. I don't want to wait. The sooner I get my work done, then I have more time to play. So I like to get all my work done, and then I can go play. And when I'm working and it's getting close to being time to turn it in and I'm still not done, that makes me feel all kinds of antsy inside and not comfortable. I want to be done before the teacher says, you have to turn it in right now, because I don't like rushing at the last moment. Okay, if that's the kind of I am a good student you are. Or if you're the bottom kind of I am a good student, you would say, oh, I like to make a plan. I want to know what I'm going to do, but I don't care if we change it. Maybe something better comes along and I just feel like, okay, I can do that too. And I change my mind. I want to be ready, but not too early. So if I start to do my work and I still have time, I'm okay if I say, I'll come back and finish that later, because I might get a good idea in between. And that way, if I wait till the end, I can get my work done best when I'm thinking at the end. My good ideas come sometimes near that deadline when it's due, when the teacher says, okay, pick what you're going to draw. I'm like, oh, okay, now my best idea would come then. I know I have to do work, but work likes to be fun. So I like to mess around and kind of joke around while I'm working. That helps me work more efficiently. But this person says, oh, I just want to get all my work done, and then I can play and have a wonderful time. So does this kind of good student sound more like you, or this kind of good student?
This one, the
That one
first one.
sounds more like you. Okay. And what did you think was cool about that student that sounded like you?
Because I like to have more time to play than study.
And so to get that more time to play and study, do you hurry up and get your homework done? Yeah. Okay, go ahead and circle that one, dear. Perfect. So on the next page, it reminds us that there are a lot of ways you can do a job well. You might have a way to make it work well, and I might have a different way, but we both get the job done, don't we? And that's the important thing. And there are a lot of ways we can be on a team and be good team members. You might have a special way that you do it. I could be different, but that's okay. And that we might have a lot of different ways that we come up with new ideas. I might come up with my ideas because I start with something and then build on it, or you might come up with one and say, oh, I like this, and then you make it. The whole point is that there are a lot of ways to be cool and good, and we're going to discover the one that works for you best. But before we start this section, if I gave you some words and said to you, give me a title for these words, okay? You can make up any title you want. So let's see. Apple, banana, orange, and grape.
Fruits.
Fruits could be a great title. What if I said, give me a different title? What would be another one you could use?
Healthy foods.
Oh, I like that one too. What about a third one? Can you think of a third one?
No, not really.
Not really? And nothing's coming right now to your mind?
No.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you think of one later, you tell me, okay?
Okay.
All right. So let me give you some animals, see if you can give a title for these animals. How about horse and dog and cow and chicken? What's the title for those?
Animals.
Animals is a good title. Can you think of a second one?
No, I don't think so.
No, you just kind of really like animals, and that one fits perfectly for you, huh? Okay. Well, there was a guy a long time ago, and his name was Carl Jung, and he did the exact same thing. But instead of fruits and animals, he looked at descriptions of how people work together and how they get their energy and how they relate to one another. And he said, oh, then I'm going to make this list of characteristics, and I'm going to give that list a title. Okay? And the title words that he used are kind of big words you may not have heard before, but they're just the title words that he gave. Okay? So that we're going to learn those title words right now. The first set of title words that we're going to look at are called extraversion and introversion. Okay?
Okay.
So when we look at these characteristics, I want you to decide which one do you think sounds like you, and then we'll put a check mark by it. So people who prefer extroversion like working with a lot of friends. They like talking out loud while they think, because when they say their words out loud, then the idea just, oh, I get it. Then the idea becomes clear. Sometimes if they have to listen for a long time, oh, they get real tired from listening. That's hard. If they are upset or angry or embarrassed, it helps if they can talk about it. They don't like to just think it inside. They want to talk to somebody about it. And doing things gives them energy. They like to be able to get up and do a lot of things. And they seem to be ready for new ideas. And people who prefer introversion like working on their own or with a few others, like some close friends. They like thinking inside and then telling. So they might come up with a whole lot of ideas inside their head, but nobody knows what they're thinking until somebody says, "What are you thinking?" And then all of a sudden they have this whole wonderful story to tell. Sometimes they get tired of doing things. They might have fun while they're doing it, but after a while of doing things with people and all that energy, they're going like, "Oh, I just would like a little bit of time alone. Give me some rest." When they're hurt or angry or embarrassed, they have a hard time talking to somebody. They'd rather think about it by themselves before they talk about it. And so they do. They take some time alone and get their energy back. And when something is brand new, like a brand new classroom or a brand new idea, they kind of wait and watch. Now, once they know everybody or once they know their idea, then they just jump right in and talk and do things. But in the beginning, they might hesitate more. So when you listen to those descriptions, do you see yourself more as that extrovert or more as that introvert?
With the second one.
The second one sounds right for you?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead and put a check mark by that second one. And what did you like about that one?
That I hesitate in new situations and with new thoughts.
Do you do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I do that too. Well, we're going to look at another pair of differences. And this time those differences have title words that are called sensing and intuition. And again, that's all they are title words for those characteristics that Jung thought of. And he said those people who like sensing like information presented in order. They like the teacher to tell them things, A, B, C, D. I want to understand each of the pieces, and then I can understand the whole idea. So when the teacher has a project for them, they like to ask a lot of questions, or they like the teacher to give them a lot of good directions so they know exactly what she wants them to do. Once they understand all that information, then it's easy for them to get the whole idea. But they don't like it if a teacher just says, "Go do whatever you want. It's your project, anything you want." They're like, "Well, how long does it have to be? And, can we do it by ourselves? And can I use materials? Or is it just drawing? Or is it writing?" And once they have all those questions, it makes more sense for them. Okay? So they like doing the project more than coming up with the idea. And they like a lot of examples. So if a teacher is teaching an idea like fractions, have you had fractions yet?
Yeah.
Oh, you have? Some kids say, "Oh, when I'm doing fractions, I want to practice them and practice them and practice them because they were a little bit hard to understand. But once I start practicing them, then they make a lot more sense to me." And they are pretty good about remembering information. And they like to do things. Whenever they're allowed to do things to experience, then they understand it better. But then there are other people who are different, and they prefer intuition. And those who prefer intuition say they like to learn lots of different things in lots of different ways. They like to have just a few directions. So if the teacher said to them, "Do your project any way you want," they'd be like, "Cool, okay, I'm ready." Because then they can go make up their own way of doing it, and they feel comfortable without that extra information. They like to get to know the main idea. That's important for them. But sometimes they forget the pieces, the details, and so then they would have to look those up. They have fun coming up with the ideas. So if the teacher says, "Work together as a team and come up with a good idea for a project to sell on parent night," oh, they had to have fun making up the idea. But it would be harder work for them if they had to actually do the work. If they say, "Oh, let's make cupcakes with these special designs on them," they'd have more fun coming up with the idea than actually making the cupcakes and putting the design on. They like just a couple of examples, because once they get a couple of examples, then they go, okay, I get it. Let's go on. I'm ready to learn something new. They read for the main idea rather than for the details. And sometimes when they're working, sometimes they have such big ideas. Oh, they're so just wonderful ideas. But then they can't make them real. So they try, but like they might imagine building this huge sandcastle with hundreds of doors and hundreds of entrances and all kinds of gateways into it. But then when they get the bowl of sand, it's real hard to make that beautiful castle that they imagined in their head. So are you a person who is, all that information is wonderful and you use that and you love doing the pieces? Or do you like coming up with those ideas and looking at things from a different point of view?
I like coming up with different ideas.
Do you like that one? Okay, so you would put a check mark by that. All right, so we have another one to look at. And this time the title words were thinking and feeling, okay? And everybody thinks with their brains.
Yeah.
And everybody feels with their hearts and their emotions. But the words, when Jung wrote them, he meant something a little bit different. So we're going to try and learn what he meant, okay? He said those who have a thinking preference love to have a personal challenge. They say, ooh, I think I can do that. I think I can run that next race. I think I can do those next 10 problems. And then it's just fun for them to see if they can meet that challenge. They love to know why. And if they don't understand why, they have to ask. So sometimes I knew a person and they would say, but why do I have to do that? But why does that work? But why do we need this? But why are we going that way? And when they would understand, then it was easy for them to agree with it. But if they didn't understand, it was very hard for them to go along with ideas. They tell the truth. And sometimes when they tell the truth in terms of being real straight and honest with somebody, sometimes they might accidentally hurt somebody's feelings. And they never meant to. But so somebody who had a thinking preference might say to me, you don't look very good in that color. But they would be doing it to tell me, pick another color that will make it look prettier for you, not to hurt my feelings that they didn't like my color. So their truthfulness is truthfulness to help you. It's not truthfulness to hurt you, okay? They love solving problems. They work hard to be the best. They love to be independent. This person says, I am good at doing things on my own, and I like to be able to make my own ideas and my own choices every time I can. They want to be good at everything, and they want other people that work with them to be good at their job too. And one of the special skills they have is they can see if something's wrong and fix it fast, and then they can see what's right. So they might say things just like, oh, change your jacket, but then you'll look lovely, But they've noticed what you need to fix first. Now the other type has some also wonderful skills. This is a feeling preference, and they say that what they like to do is they like to help others find their best way to be good. And so they tend to notice people and notice those feelings. So a person with a feeling preference might say, oh, that's a very nice jacket, but maybe you have another jacket you could try? And they try and tell me, instead of saying, oh, let's pick your different jacket, they would try and make it like it's okay, because they didn't want to hurt my feelings. They would worry about that, all right? This person tends to say, I'm going to work hard and do my best that I can. And they make decisions based on what's very important to them. So if it was important to them to have their friend on their team, even if their friend wasn't very good at maybe playing baseball, they would still ask their friend to be on the team, because what was important to them was being on the same team with their friend, not picking the best player, okay? They love when people get along, and sometimes when people don't get along, it's really kind of frightening and scary for them. They like harmony. They want people to tell them when they're doing a good job. If they don't know if they're doing a good job, then sometimes they think, well, if they didn't say anything, maybe they don't like what I'm doing, and they wonder if people appreciate what work they're doing. And what they tend to do is they tend to notice everything that's going well first and then see what's wrong. So both types see what's right and see what's wrong. It's which one do they do first. So are you a person who's more like that one who's looking for those challenges and really wants to understand why and works hard to solve problems for people? Or are you that kind of person who says, I want to help people and I want people to be caring and I want to know that everybody's getting along and working well together? Which one sounds more like you?
The first one.
Okay, so put a check mark by the first one. Excellent. And what part did you like about that description?
I like challenges.
Do you? Do you make challenges for yourself?
Yeah.
What would be a challenge you would have given yourself? Can you think of an example?
I can't really think of an example, but
Well, sometimes people will say things like, oh, I challenged myself to read my book in 1 week. And then they see if they can read it in a week. Now, nobody else told them they had to read it that fast, but they just love to make those kind of challenges. Is that what you mean?
yeah.
Okay, great. This time our title words are judging and perceiving. Those are kind of silly words, but those are the words they chose. People with that judging preference want to make a plan and use the plan. They want to know, if I wake up today, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And that's what they want to do. And they don't really like it if somebody comes up and says, oh, let's change it and not do any of that today. Let's go do this instead. They'll be like, yeah, but I was going to do this, 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 and this. They like to know what's going to happen next. And they'd like to get things done. If they have jobs to do, they want to get those jobs done. So then they don't have to think about them anymore. They can just go have fun. Okay? They don't usually like to have a lot of projects going on at one time. So they don't want to have a science project and an art project and a social studies project and a math project. They were like, oh, phew, let me just do the art project and then I'll work on the science project. And then I'll work on the math project. Now, the other people who are wonderful in their way love to have those changes. So they might wake up and go, oh, today I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And by the time they get down to breakfast, go, you know what, we're going to do something different. I think I'd rather do this, 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 and this. And then their brother walks in the room and says, why don't we do this? And they'll go, okay. And they're more changing and flexible. They like being able to change their mind. They're the ones that like to play around a little bit while they're working. And sometimes when they're working and playing around, it can be annoying to people who just want to get their work done. And they want to say to them, would you just stop it and get your work done, and then we'll play and have a good time. This type likes to be surprised, and they get their best energy for working when it's due, when the teacher says it's almost due. So let's say the teacher gave them 30 minutes to write a paragraph. And some people are working hard and hard and hard, and these people don't even look like they're working. They're kind of talking and laughing, and it doesn't really look like they're working too much. And then all of a sudden the teacher says, 5 minutes, need to turn your papers in, and they go, pshh, and write it all down and do a good job. And they're like, how'd they do a good job that fast? Because they were thinking inside their head first, and then decided to put it down. And for these people, working at that last minute makes it more fun. These people say, no, let me work in the beginning, get it going, then I can have fun later. Does one of those sound more like you?
This one.
That one sounds more like you? What do you like about that one that says?
Sometimes I am annoying when I work.
Yeah.
And my brother sometimes says, be quiet and start working.
Oh, he says that to you when you're doing homework together? Okay, so go ahead and put a check mark by that one. Wonderful. Now we're going to compare how those scores all looked, okay? And we're going to look at how you scored for your results. So let's go back, and when you did I am a good student, and we can look back for your answers if you want. When you had to circle the boxes, beginning on page, yeah, you've got it. On page 7 there. So which one did you circle for I am a good student? The lot of fish or the single fish?
Single fish.
Okay, so circle that one. And then for the next I am a good student, did you circle the trees?
Yeah.
So go ahead and circle the trees. And for the next good student, what did you circle?
The puzzle.
The puzzle. Okay, so circle that. And for the last good student, did you circle the straight lines or the kind of?
The straight lines.
You circled the straight line. Perfect. So now let's look at your check marks. And did you check extroversion or introversion as a preference?
Introversion.
Okay, so you would circle that one. And did you check sensing or intuition for your
Intuition.
intuition? So circle that one. All the way down. And did you check the thinking or feeling?
Thinking.
Okay. And then did you check judging or perceiving?
Perceiving.
Okay. So we'll circle that one. All right. So when you answered the questions this morning, the ones that you picked from your questions is you picked extroversion. So you chose this answer. So if you'll circle that. And then you chose intuition. So it would be that one. And then you chose feeling. So is that one. And then you chose judging. So is that one. So now we'll compare and see how they match. Okay, let's look at that introversion and extroversion one. You chose introversion 2 times when you listened to the descriptions, and you chose extroversion when you answered the questions. Okay, so that could decide that we could say, well, 2 of the times I liked introversion, so I could put that down, or I could say, I'm still not sure which one is most like me. And I can put a question mark, or I could put both letters down there. But do you think that the descriptions where you had to think first and keep your ideas inside your head until you were ready to share them was more like you, or talking out your ideas so that they became clear to you when you were able to talk about them made more sense for you?
Thinking in my head.
Yeah, thinking in your head. And so that would match this choice here. So what you get to decide now is, do I want to pick that as my choice, or do I want to leave it blank since I've got a difference there?
Leave it blank.
Okay, so we'll just leave that one blank, or do you want to put a question mark there?
A question mark.
Okay, that way it says, because guess what? You have every day of the rest of your life to decide which one is perfect for you. So there's no rush. Right? So let's look at the next letter pair. In the first time you chose intuition. The second time you chose intuition. And the third time you chose intuition. So do you think maybe intuition might be the one that you like best?
Yes.
I think so too. Are you comfortable putting that down?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and write an N, because the N is the one that stands for intuition. For the thinking and the feeling, you chose thinking with the puzzles, and then you chose thinking with the puzzles. But when you answered the questions, you chose feeling. So it's kind of like that's one of the ones that you do both, but which one do you do first? So if something goes wrong, do you first think of how can I fix the problem so everybody can get along? Or do you think first, how can I get everybody to get along so they can fix the problem?
I don't know that one.
Fair enough, because sometimes we don't know yet. So do you want to make that one a question mark too then?
Yeah.
Okay, so cool. That means you got 2 places you can keep discovering what makes right sense for you, and one that you're more clear about. For the last difference, you chose judging when you looked at the students. You chose perceiving when you did the descriptions. And you chose judging when you did the questions. So when you look at those, you have 2 with judging and 1 with perceiving. And so the 2 with judging says, I really do like to know what's going to happen. And I really do want good, clear directions. And I really do want to be told in advance I'm going to be surprised. And the perceiving says, oh no, I want to be able to just do it when I need to do it and be flexible. I'm going to get all my work done, but I'm not going to do it right away. I've got lots of time. I'm going to wait until it's later because then I work my best. Does one of those sound right for you, or do you think you want to leave that a question mark too?
With judging.
Oh, you feel comfortable with the judging? And why do you like the judging?
Because I like to get all my work done first. And
Okay, so judging seemed like a good answer for you on that one. All right, cool. So of the 2 then, you've got intuition and judging, which are those 2 letters that you chose. And these 2 say, I'm still deciding. And there is no rush. You can decide from now to all your grown-up years. Okay? Let's look a little bit more of what's in the book here for a moment. Okay? And we're going to skip over some pages because these pages tell us some of the things that you've already studied. Okay? But I want to go to one of the questions in here for you to answer. Okay? Right here. And we'll only have to give one answer, and we'll do the 2 questions here. It says, when I'm confused about homework or what we're studying, it'll help me learn what would you want your teacher to do to help you learn when something is hard?
I would want her to explain it to me again until I understand it.
Excellent. And so with that explanation, would it be some more examples, or would it just be using more words or more pictures, or any which way?
More examples.
More examples would help you to understand it. Perfect. And what about if you're home and your mom is helping you, or your dad is helping you, or your brother is helping you with your homework? Does he help you with your homework?
Sometimes.
Does he? Okay. What would you want your brother or your mom or your dad or anyone else at your home to do to help you with your homework if you were stuck?
I would want them to give me more explanations.
Same thing, huh? Okay. So if you were in school and your teacher says, what do you need so you can be a smart student in my class? You can say, I know what I need now. I need you to explain it more if I get stuck. Cool. All right, let's see what you would say down here. If I happen to get off task or disruptive, you know what disruptive means? I'm kind of getting into trouble. I'm doing something that's not cool. The best way to get me back on work, to get me back on task, to make me stop doing what I'm doing that isn't any good, is to what? What do they need to do to help you get so you're not in trouble anymore, or you're not doing something wrong?
Ignore distractions and focus on your work.
So they can stop some distractions for you? Okay, is that what you mean? So you could focus? Okay, but what if you were causing the distractions? What if you were laughing and giggling and talking with your friends and the teacher needed you to get back to work? What would you want the teacher to say or do?
I don't really know.
Okay, that's fair, because sometimes we don't know what we want someone to do. Some kids have said, I'd want the teacher to come over and just say to me personally, just me, shh, go back to work. And some kids would say, I just need her to give me a special signal, like, give me that look that says, get back to work, and then I can get back to work. Or some kids have said, I want the teacher to just say, you've only got 3 minutes left. If you're going to do your best, you need to put all your work down that you can get done. So there's a lot of choices that we could make, but it helps parents and teachers if you can tell them, wow, if I'm doing something wrong, I don't want you to tell everybody in the whole class, I just want you to tell me. Or I want you to give me a good reason why, or I want you to help me find a quiet place to work, just whatever. So you can think about that one too. Okay? All right, let me show you one more piece in your report that you have. And that is your book, so you can have other things in there that you can look at later. So we already know that everybody has their best way. And what we're talking about is the way that works for you. And the two pieces that you felt good and comfortable with is that you have intuition as a preference and judging as a preference. And you're still deciding on the other two. So even though those letters are there for your report, we know that that's not exactly sure that that's true for you. But we do know everybody's smart, everybody makes mistakes, and everybody can do a good job. Okay. So when we would come to here, and it would say, here is what the questions answered and came up with as a combination. But the ones that I'm sure of, and here's where you would circle, which ones you're sure of. Do you remember which two you were sure of? I think you were. It was the intuition. Yeah, that one. And so the others are still to be discovered. Okay. Okay. This report says for these 4 letters in combination that these would be your strengths and these would be your stretches. So some of these might be true for you, and some might not because you're still deciding about the other letters. All right. But you can read those with your mom or your dad, and then if you have any questions, you can let us know and we can answer them for you. Okay. So Isabel, before we leave, if somebody said to you, oh, Isabella, what is one thing you want the world to know about you? What do you now know that's wonderful about you that you hope everybody else knows too? What did you learn about yourself today?
I don't really know.
It's hard to come up with a single answer, isn't it? So, did you learn that you like to have things like to get your work done before you play rather than later?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that has a title word, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Do you remember what that title word was? It's in the book if you want to look it up. It's called judging. Yeah. And did you learn that, how about with ideas? Do you like to make up brand new ideas that are different, or do you like to have good, clear directions? Which one did you learn?
I like to come up with new ideas.
Yeah. And so those would be some things that might be interesting to your new teacher when you meet her in the fall, or to tell your parents if they ask you about how do you like to kind of learn new things, and you can say, oh, I like those new and different kind of things. Because the more people know about you, the more they'll be able to help you find the best way for you to fix the problem or to get the work done. Okay?
Okay.
Isabel, it's been fun talking with you. I'm so glad you chose to come today.